thing, like the year and everything. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another review here on Pez of the Mind. I am James Phoenix. I am a Jerichoholic. With me is Chris the Ball.
I am an award-winning Bataholic.
Yeah, okay.
I'll allow it.
That's interesting.
But yeah, we're here to discuss stuff.
Indeed, we are here to. This is going to be a new regular thing that Mo and I are going to do every so often, possibly with Rick occasionally, where we're going to take a look at
once a month.
Once a month, and we're going to take a look at a given either a special, an old DVD or VHS thing that was put out that was then switched over to the WWE Network later, or possibly some episode of a non-televised wrestling program, something that we might want to cover, network exclusive shows, what have you.
The easiest way to do it is it's WWE Network reviews, but we're not doing Raws, SmackDowns, or pay-per-views.
Yeah, that works. So
that's every other content.
That's right. So we're going to alternate back and forth on what we're reviewing. Mo's kind of have to let me go first, and being me, I went with the 2010 documentary special, Breaking the Code, Behind the Walls of Chris Jericho.
Yep.
And it was really good. I enjoyed it. Some of the things he talked about, I already knew a little bit about because I have read several of his books. But I was very intrigued to learn more of the stuff about his early career because his first book, Lionheart, is the one I have not read, which I need to. So it was interesting to learn about how, his initial development in Canada, how he ended up wrestling down in Mexico and got the name, the Corazon de Leon or Lionheart. How he took that to
Mexico. I believe he invented that.
Ha.
No, it is fun. Like when you get to see, he wrestled in the Hart training camp, which we already knew, but it's cool what he says, and he's like, and the Harts didn't really show up for that one, but it was off the Bible they had of what Stu Hart gave him. So you're like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and then he went to Japan for a while, and he learned the wrestling style over there, the NJPW and whatnot. Honed everything there, which is why when he finally, he came back to the States and he was working for Paul Heyman and ECW, and also had worked for Smoky Mountain Wrestling for a while.
It's worth noting at the time of this, he's gone back to Japan.
He has. It's true. In fact, he just recently announced that Kenny Omega of NGPW fame will be joining him on his Rock and Rager cruise this October.
Yep, which about the cruise, I mean. Only because cruises are famous for rocking a bit. Part of me is always like, no, it's slightly not necessarily risky. If you're on a top rope and stuff.
This is true.
I mean, it's not necessarily going to be bad, but it's just it's an unnecessary risk.
Yeah. But yes, so then it talked about how he, was first brought in by Paul Heyman to ECW, and was a very big hit there. And then eventually was noticed by and offered a job by Eric Bischoff at WCW, and of course pursued his career through WCW and later WWE/WWF/E to become the legendary superstar that he is today.
Yep. And when he was in ECW, he got to suplex Taz. Sorry about this, people. We are live. He just doesn't care.
Anyway, you were saying.
All I said was, and it mentioned that he suplexed Taz in ECW.
He did, and that was a big deal because very few people did that. That wasn't something people just came in and did.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, which I thought that was cool.
Yeah, so it was really interesting to see they had, obviously, Jericho talking of a lot of the events that occurred, but also a lot of people that he worked with, people like Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff and Lance Storm, who was the very first person he met in wrestling and is still his friend today. People that he worked with in the different companies, how he, got over in WCW performing in the Cruiserweight division, but then eventually just became this joke that was, going on and on about, oh, I'm 4 up on Goldberg because he doesn't show up for matches. And then they refused to give him the pay-per-view payoff for that. And he eventually got fed up and just went to the WWF where, they gave him this big opening where you're going to start off by interrupting The Rock. But then, of course, he had to, he had to really work up from there, realizing that it wasn't just going to be handed to him. He had to really put in the effort to find out who he was in WWF and really push that forward, as well as all the things he's pursued outside his role career with the band and things like that. So he's really done a lot. It was really intriguing to see the life of Chris Jericho in this perspective, from all the different things that he's done and all the places that he's been and all the different skills that he's honed. It's what makes him so unique and one of the best, as he likes to say, the best in the world at what he does.
Two things. One, are you plugged in?
I am not at the moment, but I got a new router, so that shouldn't be an issue anymore.
You were literally going from a lot of that.
Oh, all right.
That's why I was like, oh, are you plugged in? But yeah. Second thing was, yeah, there's various things on there though. It's like, it is worth noting with the WCW thing, like Goldberg said, and that is the perspective of some of the people in WCW, is they kind of shouldn't have done the pay-per-view payoff. Only because Jericho wanted a deep one-on-one match, is what some of the sides claim he asked for. So he'd be taking Goldberg to his limit, a guy that none of the main eventers could do. And Jericho's literally gone from being a comics coward to suddenly doing that. It'd be like having Tyler Breeze suddenly come out and take Brock Lesnar to his limit.
Right.
It shouldn't happen. I mean, it'd be cool to have a matchup with Goldberg where he just instantly squashes Jericho. But even Jericho's like, you wanted to squash me in a minute. And you're like, yes, that's what he did. That is the payoff. The Goldberg payoff to that is him squashing you in a minute. It's how he's built.
Pretty much.
So I could see both sides of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, but just overall, it's a really good special. It reminded me why Chris Jericho is my favorite superstar, and why I do need to go back and read his first book, Lionheart, and also why I need to read his new book that came out a couple of months ago that I haven't gotten a chance to read yet either.
Yep. And I will also say on one of the things you mentioned, what you said, and as he likes to call himself, I'm going to make the case, no, he doesn't. There's literally a giant portion of a big, long section of the DVD or network special where Jericho's basically talk about, yeah, my character says he's best in the world. I'm going to say I'm not the best. And goes on about all his insecurities and how he thinks if you actually think you're the best in the world, you're going to be worse.
He talks about there's always ways he can be better, always ways he could get more over with the crowd or make the crowd hate him more if he's a heel, or ways that he can be better in the ring or do something new. And
yeah,
that was really inspirational.
Yeah, I always find that cool.
Yeah. Very much so.
And it is cool where it goes through various stuff. It is weird how they sort of shoehorned in his music and writing of the books and all the other stuff, like quickly condensed it down. It was like, oh, by the way, I also did music, I also did books. And
you
could have, in my opinion, the best way of doing this would have been to have included his music and his books and stuff at the same time as his career, so you could see how it was growing on a proper timeline.
That would have made more sense. Yeah, I get the same feeling they wanted to focus on the wrestling, and they were obligated or felt obligated or were told they had to include the music and the book stuff, and they really didn't want to, so they just squeezed it in.
Yeah, which is possible. Which it would make sense to concentrate on that. It is a wrestling documentary, but
yeah.
Like when you go to The Rock, if you look at The Rock's ones before now, they've got a big thing about how he broke into Hollywood.
Right.
And they'll make a bigger deal about it. It's like they could have done that with us.
They could have. It would have been better if they had done that, I think, and worried about how all the different aspects of things that he has done over the course of time. That pretty much he even said from the beginning of the year that when I was a kid growing up, there were two things I wanted to be: a wrestler and a rock star. And he accomplished both of those things. And he also, wanted to write because
he is a wrestler.
Yes. And how he also wanted to write because when he was in college, he ended up taking this speed creative writing program that really spurred him intellectually and creatively, and so he was that really led him to be able to write all the books that he's written. I
was making that comment because his wrestling's really good. His band is shit. I'm just gonna say it. I'm not a big fan of his band.
That's fair. That's fair.
they're almost a nothing band at this point.
That's fair.
At this point, I think Cena was more over with music when he did his rap stuff, which was shit.
Okay.
Like his rap video got played on TV over here.
Wow.
Never heard a Fozzy one be played.
Fair enough. Yeah, but if he enjoys it, more power to him, even if it's not a big well-known band. And I think I'm not really into rock and roll music to that genre, so it doesn't really appeal to me that much. But I give him credit for doing what he loves. I'm sure that there's obviously an audience that enjoys it somewhere. They wouldn't keep getting paid to do it. So more power to those people.
He is, but I would make the case you can make the say that literally you can make that comment with absolutely anything in the world.
This is true.
Like we can't insult Ryback's wrestling because he enjoys it and some people are fans of his.
I didn't say we couldn't insult it. I just said,
No, I'm just saying though. So it's like, well, no, not really too much credit to him. He's like, I want to be a rock star. You're not really a big rock star. Like he sold his band more than he should have. I feel.
Okay.
I feel he undersold his wrestling and oversold his music, which is weird because he's way better. Like in wrestling, most people will probably list him definitely in the top 10.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I agree.
Music, I don't think you'd list him in the top 50.
Yeah, probably not. But yeah. So, but either way, he's had a very colorful, and I like that he tied the entire narrative to the fact that, other than it's obviously his love of the wrestling industry and what he does in other industries, what's always driven him more is creativity. He's always been driven to be creative in new and different and unique ways, which is what has spurred everything he's always done, from being creative in the wrestling ring and on the microphone, to being creative with his music, to being creative with his writing, to being creative with all the other different things that he's done. It's all been driven by expanding his horizons and being more creative, finding out what else he can do, what else he can be good at, what else he can experience. And I really like that that's how he views life. That's really cool.
Yeah, but which it is a good documentary, to be fair.
Yeah, and it's an excellent documentary. I urge you, if you have the network, go check it out.
Now, I will say, I wish they'd used more archive footage.
Okay.
The only reason I mean that is, like, if you watch, say, the Monday Night Wars one, or if you watch somewhat like the NWO second one they've done for WWE, and some of the other stuff, like they'll go back and they'll show interviews with people from previous DVDs or interviews that have done the same thing. They could have gone back to like more Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, and people like that interviews to cover more of the WCW side from when he was there, and had more interviews with him there. Where the only one we really got talking about that was Ray. And I think that's probably because at the time he happened to be there. Because this is right before Cena screwed him out the world title because he was a face. And yeah, that's how faces work.
Yeah.
Fuck Cena for that. I still hate him for that. I still hate that where it's like, Ray's won the world title. Cena comes out, now I want my rematch when you're completely tired because this is completely fair. Face. And you're like, no. No, you're literally doing the thing that you condemned Edge for doing when he cashed in Money in the Bank on you.
Yep. But anyway, this is a really good show. I think if you're a Jericho fan, and even if you aren't, I think you'll, even if you're not necessarily somebody who's not necessarily viewed on Jericho, I think you'll at least have a newfound respect for him after you see all that he's gone through and all the effort he's put in all the different aspects of his life. And I think it's really cool to experience that vicariously a little bit.
Yep, it is a cool documentary.
All right. So, Mo, how would you rate this documentary? Unless you have something else to say.
No, I'd rate this pretty high. I'd say if you like it on the network, I would recommend probably going out and buying it. Only because on the DVDs, there's usually matches and extra promos and stuff like that featured. So it'd be cool to have them on there as well. But as on the network, it's still cool to check out and just watch it because it's a great documentary and they did a good job. WWE normally does a good job with her documentaries. So from
Yeah, on the network it runs about 2 hours, whereas I think if you actually buy the DVD, in addition to that 2 hours, especially you get about 8 hours worth of matches and promos and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah, you normally do.
So definitely worth giving that a look if you want to see all that other stuff that Jericho's done and his performances in the ring and on the stage and everything else. Yeah, I would definitely rate this high up as a 90 out of 100. This is a really good special, especially if you like Chris Jericho. And it's definitely worth checking out and seeing a unique perspective of the wrestling industry for somebody who's been in almost every part of it, from Mexico to Japan to the Indies, Smoky Mountain in the Indies here in the U.S. to ECW, WCW, WWE. Somebody who's literally been everywhere and done almost everything there is to do in wrestling, at least at the time frame in which he has had a career. So. And you just really see all that, plus all the other side things that he has done, even though they're only focused on minimally. It's fun to see all those different things that he's done. It's really amazing to see, the man that is Chris Jericho and all he has accomplished in his career actually lined up in front of you, and how humble he is about it all too.
Yep.
So that's very, very cool. I definitely encourage everybody to go check this out. So, I don't know if we had a teaser. Mo, had you picked what next month's special will be?
Yes, because unlike you, I didn't wait till the last second. It's
Fair.
the Eric Bischoff one that's on the network. It's literally the third one along on WWE Beyond the Ring.
Nice. All right.
I ironically I own that on DVD, but I can talk about the DVD as well. But I'll be watching it again beforehand because I like that the
Cool.
story of Bischoff.
Nice. I look forward to watching that. I do enjoy Bischoff, and I don't really, like I said, I was never WCW was a little before my time. I only started watching wrestling just before the invasion, so I really didn't know that much about WCW. So I look forward to.
The reason I've chose that is just because obviously I like Bischoff, but it's also interesting when we get to it, as you'll see. Is that there's two on there, which are the most, in my opinion, unique compared to most of the wrestling documentaries.
Okay.
Paul Heyman
Mm-hmm.
and Eric Bischoff, because unlike the others where you're like, oh, when I trained to be a wrestler and then I was a wrestler, they talk all about the business side of stuff and how it was more of a, because it's more of a completely different person to, like, Bischoff isn't going to have a very similar career to Randy Orton, John Cena, Chris Jericho, Bret Hart,
Right.
or anyone like that. So it's like, okay, I like that aspect. It's why I normally listen to his podcast, which people should check out.
I should check that out. I agree.
Bischoff on wrestling, it's awesome.
Cool. Let's check that out. All right. So, folks, we will see you next month for that. We will see you a little later on tonight. Of course, it is the final Raw exclusive pay-per-view of this brand split for now, the Elimination Chamber. So we will be talking about that after the pay-per-view ends in about 4 hours.
Yep.
So we will definitely talk about that later. And, of course, stay tuned this Tuesday for the final countdown.
Yep.
Mole, thank you for joining me.
Huzzah.
And we will see you next time, folks. Peace and Jericho.